If you want to learn how to become consistent with whatever you do, add whatever the thing is that you want to do into your daily routine for 90 days. I guarantee you, after that, you won't have to think whether you should do it or not. It will automatically become your routine. So just whatever it is that you want to make sure you implement into your daily life, do it for 90 days. And I guarantee you, after that, you won't have to remember to do it. You'll already know because it became a habit. Hello, you guys. My name is Shaneria. This is Talking Crime. Sometimes I give little tips on how to do content or be a content creator, but for the most time, I do reaction videos. And today's video is definitely a reaction video. If you like the tea, if you like the drama, if you just like to hear somebody else's story, this is the platform for you. Subscribe and join the family, and also hit that hype button. The hype button is more stuff to help add this channel and this video to the algorithm. So you guys help me by subscribing, like, comment, and share. And if you are returning, y'all know how we like to do it. We like to get straight into the reaction video. Let's go.
If someone would have told me back in 2020 that in 2026 I would have the balls and the bravery to discuss what I'm about to discuss to strangers on the internet, I would have been calling you a liar. Primarily because this part of my life was the most challenging. The circumstances around it carried so much shame, and I never thought that I would get past that. But I had several signs recently that really pushed me to actually share the story. And I was talking to one of my friends, and I just kept going back and forth with actually sharing it, but I did make this page specifically to be vulnerable for the women actively going through it. Because once again, while I was in it, I felt like I was the only one. And I never want any other woman to feel like that. I never want any other man to feel like that, because you are not alone. What I've realized is that we are all living very similar experiences, but usually the shame of those experiences keeps us from feeling like a collective. So, story time of how I found out about my ex-husband being a serial cheater, and eventually figuring out that he was a narcissist. Just to go ahead and give you guys a quick timeline to catch you up to March of 2020, when my life completely changed. So August of 2019, I gave birth to my son. In October of 2019, I had the wedding of my dreams to what I thought was the love of my life. And in November of 2019, the day after Thanksgiving, my father transitioned to the next life with his battle with colon cancer. So during my whole period of my pregnancy, I was also dealing with watching one of the strongest men I know wither away right before my eyes. So it was such a bittersweet time for me, because while I was super excited to be carrying my first child, and obviously my family's first boy, because I had two bonus daughters, so this was his first boy, I was watching my dad deteriorate. But also planning a wedding, because his one request was that he walked his baby girl down the aisle and see me get married, which I had already been engaged for about 2 years at that time. We will go ahead and fast forward to March of 2020. I am dealing with significant postpartum. I am still grieving my dad heavily at this time, and I recognize that my body is not normal. My body feels exactly how it felt whenever I was first pregnant with my son. And I told my husband at the time, I was like, I can almost guarantee you that I'm pregnant. And to be quite frank, I'm not in a mental space to have any more children. It will be unfair to bring another life into this world and give them this kind of mother. So I went ahead and I called my OB. I took 2 at-home pregnancy tests. I went ahead, I called my OB and scheduled a appointment because I couldn't tell you how far along I was, honestly, because I wasn't having any menstrual cycles because I was breastfeeding my son. He was about 5 to 6 months, so I did not have a normal cycle at that time. So I went ahead and I seen my OB the week after. I took my 2 at-home pregnancy tests that were positive. And obviously, if you've ever had a kid or dealt with pregnancy in general, you know that your first appointment, they are doing a routine urine sample for STDs, and 2, to make sure that you're actually pregnant. After that, I was able to see my OB, and I was pretty honest with my OB, and I was like, hey, I'm going to be completely honest. I don't think you're going to be seeing this one through. I'm honestly just here because I need to see how far along I am. to figure out what my options are. And he was like, okay. He was like, no judgment here. This was prior to all this banning abortion BS. And he was like, well, let me go ahead and see if I can go ahead and get you at least an ultrasound today so we can figure out how far you are. I luckily got in with my OB that day, and the minute she put that probe on my stomach, I tilted my head and I said, why does it look like there's 2 in there? She said, what do you do for a living? I said, well, I'm a dispatcher, because I was at the time. And she said, well, looks like you have a career in ultrasound tech, because here is baby A and here is baby B. For sure you can ask any twin mom about that nervous laugh that you do, because you're really not gathering what they putting down, honestly. And I knew in that moment that I was pretty much having those children. I always wanted twins. It was always the thing that I talked about whenever I was younger, and I was like, I'm just gonna have to carry this cross and figure it out. Furthermore, after I figured out it was twins, she then does all the measurements and she gives me their due date. My due date for my twins was November 14th, which is very significant to me because that is one of my big brother's birthday. Probably the biggest protector out of all of my siblings. They would have shared a birthday. That's very significant, once again, because my baby that is here, so Jake shares a birthday with my brother that passed away, and my twins were going to share a birthday with my biggest protector brother, if you will. And if you're spiritual, that was a divine thing all in itself, that all those birthdays aligned moving forward. Once again, I completely changed my mind on not going through with the pregnancy. We were just gonna have to figure it out. And I was going to have 3 under 2, to be quite frank. And I mentally started preparing myself for that. And then the next day happened. And life, as I knew it, completely changed. Nobody will ever tell me that it wasn't my dad getting to that other side and seeing what was going on behind my back, and knowing that he had to show me, and it had to be drastic for me to take those rose-colored glasses off. I trusted my ex-husband with everything in me. Like, I was taught to as a wife, especially as a Southern wife. That's what you're taught to love and be naive and think that the person that vowed their whole life to you in honor of you and to protect you was actually going to do that. And it had to be something that he could not weasel his way out of. He could not gaslight me out of. Because if you have ever dealt with a narcissist, you know that they will make you question your reality. And I had questioned so many realities up until then. This I could not question. And it had to be something that drastic to knock off those rose-colored glasses I had on whenever it came to him. My OB calls back. If you're a woman, you already know that's not a good thing. I go ahead and I'm like, hey, is everything okay? Like, did something else come up in my scans that you guys didn't see? And the nurse pauses and she says, hey, Miss Sampe, we're gonna need you to come back in. And I said, well, what's going on? Well, you tested positive for this, and this. We need you to come in and get treated. I had not been with anyone else other than my ex-husband since 2013. We were in 2020. And my OB was calling to let me know that I tested positive for trichomonas, chlamydia, and gonorrhea. While I am very thankful that they were 3 STDs that were treatable, the shame, the embarrassment, I had never had an STD in my life. I was a good girl. I kept my body count low. I got with my husband whenever I was 19. I hadn't been ran through like society makes you think you have to be in order to get an STD. Because we were all taught that, right? Only loose females get STDs. I go ahead and I hang up and I call my ex-husband. And I said, is there anything you would like to tell me? Those were my specific words, and I remember it like yesterday. I was pacing back and forth at the sheriff's office parking lot, pacing back and forth. And like a true narcissist, his specific words were, you're always effing accusing me of something. How do I not know it wasn't you that was sleeping around and you gave it to me? You came into this insecure and you always accused me of cheating. Click. That's how that conversation went. Yeah. My heart is honestly in my ass. I tried to go in and finish my shift. I eventually realized that I cannot finish anything. I cannot think straight. I leave work. I go home. I throw out his clothes. We had a bottle of vodka. I had my duty weapon. And a bottle of spills. I finished that bottle of vodka, and I remember vividly rocking back and forth on my bathroom floor and saying, I just want to go meet my dad. I just want to go meet my brother. I just want to go meet my dad. I just want to go meet my brother. Because my life was falling apart. And I could not grasp being betrayed by that man.
Jesus, what? And then he gave her 3 different STDs and then blame it on her is crazy work. And that's the thing, like, you know you out there doing something, because if you wouldn't, you would have been like, no, like, I didn't give you anything, like, what are you talking about? But not only did you accuse her of cheating and say, oh, you always accusing me of cheating, you got loud, aggressive, and then hung up the phone, as in if, like, that's gonna give you time enough to think of what you gonna think or figure out how to explain when you get home. Like, the disrespect, like, you already know she's going through something. She lost her dad, brother is no longer here, like, you know, not really wanting to be a mother all over again, even though she got kids already. You know that she's going through something, and yet you bring her 3 other issues.
The way he betrayed me after I took care of his 2 children, and be the best bonus mom and best wife that I could possibly be, would, 1, put me in danger, 2, put our child's life in danger. And I was breastfeeding at the time, and that is a bodily fluid. I, for God knows how long, had these STDs, and that was my main concern at that time. I can tell you right now that if my child contracted any of those STDs, I would be in an orange jumpsuit right now. He comes home, he's tearing shit up like I'm the one that did something wrong, which is what narcissists do. They make you believe that you're the person that's completely wrong. So they're more angry than you. Like, he's tearing down our pictures and throwing shit around, and I'm like, wait, what the hell's actually going on? Because I could have sworn that I just found out that I have 3 STDs. What the hell are you throwing shit around? But if you ever dealt with a narcissist, they live in that false delusion, and he pretty much needed to run with the story that, how do I not know you did this to me? Because he's not admitting fault to anything at this point. And matter of fact, he did not admit fault until 3 days later, which wasn't by default. Stick around, I'll tell y'all. I make the appointment to go in and get treated. This is peak COVID time, you guys. So we're doing temperature scans at the door, and only a certain amount of people are allowed to get in. And I am dealing with the worst news that I have. I don't even know how to explain it. So I go into my OB's office, and there's a nurse outside taking the temperatures, and obviously I'm a wreck. I look like a wreck. And she was like, I know I'm not supposed to do this, but do you mind if I hug you? And I had not told anybody what I was going through at this moment, by this point. And that little lady, that little angel, put her arms around me, and I lose it outside of my OB's office. She was like, what's going on? And I started spilling my guts to this complete stranger, telling her that, you know, I just buried my dad, and I just got married, and I'm pregnant with twins, and that they just called me to tell me that I tested positive for all these things, and I didn't do anything. I did all the right things. I was a faithful woman. I did everything that I was taught to do, and here I am right now dealing with this. And she said, you get your babies and you get the hell out of there. And I get inside of my OB's office. He prescribed me the antibiotics for, I believe, the gonorrhea and the chlamydia, but trick, you needed a shot for. I needed a shot for. So I had to go and get admitted to the hospital to get that shot, which the hospital was right next to my OB's office, so it was in walking distance. And I remember walking into the hospital and feeling so dirty, and I wanted to scream. I'm not responsible for this. I was a good girl. I was a good wife. I wasn't loose in any way, because I'm in here getting treated for these things. They put me in the room. They come in to administer the shot, and they tell you you pretty much have to wait 30 minutes to an hour to make sure you don't have any reaction to it. It is 6 years later, and I still cannot go into my OB's office without catching a panic attack. Whenever they take my blood pressure, they look at me and ask me if I feel dizzy, if I am having any headaches, because my blood pressure skyrockets every time I go to an OB's office till this day. And we are in 2026. That happened to me in 2020. So, as we all know, your body and your mind keeps the score of your trauma. That is how traumatic that was for me. Before I left my OB's office, he was like, unfortunately, Miss Sampe, I do have to go ahead and let you know that I do need to send you for testing for HIV and AIDS, because they only ran certain panels in my OB's office. So after I got treated for trick, I then had to go to diagnostic something and get tested for HIV and AIDS. Phlebotomist in there. Once again, what's going on? Why do you look like this? You look like you have been having a hell of a day. Started spilling my guts yet again. And She said, excuse my French, sweetheart, but she said, you leave that son of a bitch and you leave him right now. Because anybody who doesn't care about themselves will never care about you or your children. Very blessed that those tests came back negative. He's still not admitting it, y'all. I just want to go ahead and let y'all know. He is still not admitting what he did. And then I was like, wait a minute. I was a good wife. As good wives do. I took care of the home. I forgot that I had been the person who set up his online insurance portal. And by then I was like, holy shit, like I have this written down somewhere. Lo and behold, this man got tested and treated in January of 2020 for said STDs. Keep in mind, we are in March of 2020. He tested himself, treated himself, and continued to have sex with me the entire time, which eventually led to him getting reinfected. Yeah, walk with me. Finally screenshot it, and I made it home. And I showed him this. I said, you still want to go ahead with the story that you don't know who did this, and you know, this is possibly me? And he was like, what do you mean? I'm like, what do you mean? I was like, I'm literally showing you your insurance documents from January 2020. He said, I don't know what that is. I don't even know what that is. What are you talking about? I said, I want you out of my house. He was like, well, can we talk? You know, I'm about to go ride to my brother's. Can we talk? I said, I don't have anything to say to you. You've been lying to my face for 3 days, which I already knew you were lying because I knew what I've been doing with my vagina for all these years. I don't have anything to say to you. Get out of my house. The day he left that house, I kid you not, I remember this shit like yesterday. I kid you not, this man was in a hotel room, and I finally decided to open up Facebook to doom scroll. I'll open up Facebook, and while my world is crashing and crumbling down, this man makes a post joking about Tiger King on Facebook. Like he didn't just get kicked out. Like I just then found out that he gave me 3 STDs. Like I was not prepared to take myself out. Joking and clowning, like absolutely nothing was happening. I'm talking, he's going about his day, going to the gym. Like I'm trying to go to work, and my shift is texting me saying, we don't know what's going on, but we know something is not right. You're usually the light in this room, and you have left every day. You have not said anything, and we are concerned. I really wanted to have this conversation. He was like, you know, it was from my bachelor party, and now he had 3 days to come up with this lie, y'all. 3 days. I never thought I was going to share this story, honestly, because I didn't leave after that. He used the fact that he's super scared to have 3 kids alone. I could not figure out how I was going to ever do that alone. And I felt so much shame. I felt so low for staying with a man after doing that to me. It caused an awakening that had to happen. To realize the issues that I had within myself, to accept those things and not leave immediately. But once again, if you dealt with a narcissist, there was the love bombing. Oh, I can do everything right. The crying, the fake tears, we can work on this, and you know, we're gonna be a family, we're gonna figure this out, and all the things after a narcissistic abusive episode. And I can tell you that I was not strong enough to leave. Not at that moment. I had already lost too much within a very short amount of time. And at the time, I thought it was just a one-time mistake. I had just made a vow for forever. The Bible, I was full Christian at the time, the Bible tells you to forgive. And you know, first time is a mistake, and after that, it's a choice. And I'm like, we're gonna go to therapy, we're gonna try to work this out. I did not have this big ass wedding, a divorce a couple of months later. I just lost my dad. I cannot deal with another loss right now. And so I stayed. I never thought, like I said, I was gonna share that part of my story on how I found out that he was unfaithful, because I was so scared that everybody would call me stupid and say, oh, I wouldn't do this, and oh, you're dumb for staying, and you know, I was so worried about what everybody would think. But why am I ashamed? I did nothing wrong. I did what I thought was right at the time, and I no longer share that shame, that burden. I tell it freely now, because that's not it wasn't my problem. The only thing I was guilty of, once again, was loving a man who was incapable of loving me, and honestly, quite frankly, loving himself. I'm so past that. This is life after leaving. Every day is not going to be about the trauma that I went through when I was married, because that's not my full life. That was just a chapter. I am genuinely happy with the woman that I am now. I needed to learn those lessons. When I learned them, you can do all the things right and still get effed over. You can follow all the rules of being a good girl, and that does not save you from outcomes that you are not in control of. So I share that story with y'all because I'm on the other side, and I don't care. I have no problem being the sacrificial lamb and telling my story if that means I help one person feel like they are not alone in something, and that it's not your shame, it's not your guilt, it's nothing that you did wrong. And eventually, it will pass. It will feel like death, but it will pass. And once again, I'm living proof of that. I did forget to add how validating it was whenever the T app came out. I never got on the app because that did not align with my energy, that did not align with who I am, but a lot of people screen recorded a lot of things. and it made its way to me. So how validating it was for multiple women to be on there saying that he burned them as well. Because once again, he stayed with the story that he only cheated once, and that resulted into 3 STDs. So there were multiple women on the app saying that he burned them as well. And also, which I was already aware of, the smear campaign that he was going around telling everyone that I was the person that cheated on him. Which, once again, I was already aware that he was going around telling people that. And I remember telling one of my friends also this. I was like, I can't believe that he's going around telling people when I have all this proof. And he's still going around this narrative that I was the cheater and I was the one that broke up our family. And I was the narcissist. And I'm like, oh my God. And I hope this video reaches someone who is possibly going through something like that, dealing with a narcissist, getting a divorce, dealing with unfaithfulness in their marriage, thinking, how in the hell will I get through this? I'm living proof that you get through it. One day at a time, one step at a time. So that is the story time of how I found out.
You know what? I like that she came and told her story. This story can help out so many women and men in situations like this. Like, you don't have to feel ashamed. Like, a lot of people do go through things, and some people go through something that will change everything. And they could be this good husband, this good wife. They could do everything that aligns with being good, and something still bad can happen to them. Like, it's not because they a bad or dirty person. It's because it's life. Like, everybody's gonna go through things. Things are gonna happen. But we have to realize that at the end of the day, it's a lesson. It's something to teach us not to do again, right? And I'm glad she shared her story, because this can help other people to, quit feeling ashamed, quit feeling like, all hope is gone, quit making a decision all right now. Like some people do suicide, take their lives and stuff. Hopefully this helps somebody to not do that. Don't think about right now, because years down the line, you could be in a way better place than you are now. So don't just think for the meantime. I'm sorry she had to go through this. I'm sorry she had to experience this. I'm sorry this had to happen to her. I'm sorry that she lost loved ones. I'm sorry that, she was just so stressed out. I'm sorry that she felt guilty or stupid for staying, because it do say for rich or for poor, for better or worse. So she wanted to make her marriage work. She wanted to love and be there for her husband, but obviously he didn't want to do the same thing. And that's okay if you decide you want to work on your family. You get what I'm saying? Don't feel ashamed. That's okay if that's what you want to do. But you have to also remember, you cannot do it alone. Not at all. Right? And obviously he didn't care about himself, because he got treated only to come back and still have sex with his wife. As in, like, she don't even know that she got this. Sir, when you was going to tell her that she need to go get treated and checked too, why would you put yourself back in that position by going to get, what was the point of even going to get treated if you was going to continue to, do something with the people that have it? Huh? Like, at some point you had to confess, like, look, I did do something one time, so you say, and this and this and this is what I got. You need to go get tested and treated. Instead, he kept it a secret, and not only kept it a secret, he still was doing something with his wife in order to contract it again. You don't care about yourself. Not only do you not care about me, but you don't care about yourself. Because why would you even do that? Put me or you in that situation when it could be prevented. Like, I just didn't get why he went and got treated, but then still did something with his wife to contract it again. And I said that. I said in my mind, I was like, what if he went and got treated, and now that she getting treated, he blaming it on her, and then he gonna go get tested and he don't got it. But then I forgot they still was having to do something, and she didn't even know that she even had it. Y'all, Ooh-wee. I'm glad she left him. I'm glad she moved on. I'm glad she learned her self-worth. And I'm glad she's in a better space now in order to tell this story to help out somebody else. It don't even have to be like STDs or cheating. Like if you're feeling unloved, if you feeling like somebody just don't care, or you know what I'm saying, like doing you dirty, or like, you know, ain't in it for the same reasons, then you need to leave. I mean, I'm just saying, it might not be true. It might be, you know what I'm saying, y'all don't have a understanding of how each other need to be loved or need to be treated. And maybe y'all need to figure out how to better communicate. But if y'all communicating and it's still not working out, if y'all going to see these counselors and they still not working out, if y'all going to talk to y'all pastor and it's still not working out, y'all need to break apart. Y'all need to love yourself more and love that person enough to move on. You guys, drop down in the comment section what you think about this story. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hype me up if you see that hype button. And also, just join the family. I just had to say it again. And if you are returning, y'all already know how we like to do it. Like, comment, and share this video. Hype me up if you see that hype button. And I hope you all have a blessed day. Peace.